Welcome to the Dear Mr. Fantasy Sports Talk Podcast. I'm Stylin, Bill Edwards, joined as always by my buddy El Pato. How you doing, Ducky?
What up, Stylin?
Hey, man. Hey, so in this week's episode, we're covering the top 10 stories of the week, including the NFL, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson spat. Good gossip there. We got some NFL, some fantasy. We have the emerging story about our boy Chauncey Billups, CU Buff, and how he got mixed up with the mafia rigging poker games. What the hell's up with that? But first, we're doing a live broadcast here with the Buffs facing the Utah Utes in Utah. So we're going to be following the Buffs as we go along. Unfortunately, they're currently down 10-0. I was really optimistic after last week's upset of Iowa State. I feel like they turned a corner. Aiden Salter was looking better. I thought their defense looked better, their running game, their offensive line. But, here we go again, down 10-0. So we'll see if they come back. What do you think, Ducky? Are they going to be able to come back against Utah or what?
I'm hoping. With Utah, with the freshman quarterback starting for the first time in 2 plays, they're in the end zone. So that's not a good start.
They got a freshman quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's his first, I think he threw 5 or 6 passes throughout the season. But, yeah, we might be screwed.
Their defense, Buffs defense, I thought looked a lot better. All the stuff that plagued CU in the opening, last couple of years with Dion. The first few games of Dion's coaching tenure. The offensive line was terrible.
They sucked.
Yeah, the offensive line was bad. The running game was non-existent. Just all that stuff was very frustrating. And it seems like they had turned a corner possibly, and we're getting better in those areas. So we'll see. It's only in the first quarter, but they just punted again, and same old. It's like, what the hell? I'm just.
Yeah, it's no fun.
The thing about college sports, especially the NIL, it's so hard. Maybe not. Before the NIL, it was you had all the great teams. The Alabamas, the Ohio States, who are always going to be great, and it was so hard for any team to compete. And I was thinking maybe with NIL, the transfer portal, like all you need is like a Deion Sanders type figure, and next thing you know, you're going to get all these great players. But I don't know. So far, that really hasn't materialized. They got, Jordan Seaton, they got a couple 5-star recruits. They got Juju. But, I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you think's the future here? Oh, it just sucks, man. It just sucks when you get your expectations up, you get your hopes up, and then your team doesn't do well. It's the age-old story in sports.
All these guys on the sidelines as coaches, assistant, whatever they are.
Yeah. What's up with that? Like the running game is much better, and maybe part of that's because of Marshall Faulk. It's like they're better, but they're not better at the same time.
Dude, they suck. What do you mean?
No, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, they suck. It's 17-0. What do we got time-wise?
I mean, it's fucking Utah. Like, come on. We're not playing Ohio State, I mean, they need to. Jeez,
dude, it was one move and that's a touchdown.
It's like they look better and then they don't look better. Like they have the talent and then they don't make the plays.
Did we go to the World Series? Is that over? Probably over.
I don't think.
Let's watch the beatdown as we talk.
I don't think the Buffs. Oh, yeah, you mean switching? Yeah, okay.
No. Let's watch these guys, and then we'll watch. Do you have a meter for my my heart rate? And we could, dude. What the?
Okay, let's move on from the Buffs. The timer's counting down. 3, 2, 1.
Go to the next. What do we got?
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. We are going to restart the timer on a new topic here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this topic may be a few days old, but the whole the Sean Payton Russell Wilson story cracks me up. That story cracks me up because it's like, I don't know, people getting pissed off about little shit, because so Sean Payton, for those who don't know the story, in the post-game conference, he's just like, "Oh, yeah, Jackson Dart, he's ripping it up." I wish they would have waited another week to put him in, right? Meaning you would have rather faced Russell Wilson. What is so controversial about that? Hello, Russell Wilson sucks. Jackson Dart's like this emerging star. Yeah, of course. Of course Sean Payton wants to face the shittier quarterback. What is the controversy, right?
Well, everybody's looking at he's taking digs at him, and he's probably petty, and so is Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, how is that? Dude, you suck. So,
Yeah.
what's the big deal?
Yeah. So Russell Wilson calls out Sean Payton as being classless. Like, whatever. The truth hurts, right? Dude, you suck. You sucked with the Broncos. The Broncos paid you, like
He's angry that-
$200 million for what?
But let's get real. He's angry because nobody likes him.
Yeah, that's it. Right. But he was one of the worst trades in NFL history. The Broncos gave up.
Sean,
Oh my God, the Broncos gave up like 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders or something for him, and he sucked.
yeah, but
He
is
sucked.
Sean Payton, like, he's probably a little petty too.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't care what he is.
But
Just
it wasn't
be a good
wasn't
coach.
like he came out in that press conference just like, "Oh, Russell Wilson's a piece of shit." Yeah, he just came out and said, "I wish they would have fucking kept, I wish you would have waited a week to put Jackson Dart in."
But that gives us and all those other shows something to talk about.
Yeah, that's why I think the whole thing was overblown a little bit.
He does suck.
He does suck. He does. He does. And that's just the truth. And the truth hurts. So fuck off, Russell Wilson. That's all I got to say about that. I like Sean Payton. As a Broncos fan, I like his feistiness.
We like good coaches.
I like good coaches. I like his competitiveness. And if that's like the most controversial thing he says, that's pretty non-controversial in my book. Yeah. So anyway, go Broncos and fuck Russell Wilson. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Next.
Let's move on. Let's keep on talking Broncos, but let's keep on. Let's go to this coming week. So they face the Cowboys. That's going to be a good
Big
game.
game.
Strength on strength, right? Cowboys have one of the best offenses in the NFL. Broncos have one of the best defenses in the NFL. You got CeeDee Lamb back. You got my boy George Pickens, who is not.
I got CeeDee Lamb back.
You got CeeDee Lamb. I got George Pickens, who is not a bum, by the way. And they're going up against Patrick Surtain and that defense. So really looking forward to that. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the Broncos come back from that crazy game against the Giants where they had 0 points through 3 quarters, and then they got 33 in the 4th quarter. That was just insanity. I know I saw Bo Nix was the first player ever to have 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Total insanity. So what do you think about this game, Dougie?
I think that, dude, the Broncos it seems like they don't get going until the second half. But it was a very sweet to see that they could come back on those guys. And, the thing is with the Giants, they were kind of just like throwing the long passes. They thought that they had the game. And it's, the coach was pissed. Abel's like out of his mind. But the thing is they didn't coach it well. He didn't coach it well enough, and Dart didn't play that well at the end. So
yeah, well, the Broncos.
That's what you get.
Yeah, Broncos made the plays they needed to, and I think it goes a long way toward the evaluation of Bo Nix as a talent. The fact that he can turn it on when he needs to.
But can't you keep it on?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? But it's there, right? He just has to access it. Like I remember that New England Atlanta Super Bowl when Atlanta was up 28-3.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember thinking, Tom Brady's just going to turn it on. He's just going to say enough is enough, and he's just going to do it. And sure enough, he did. I just remember thinking that. And not that Bo Nix is Tom Brady or anything, but you know what? It was the same type of thing when the Giants were up 19-0, and then they were up 26-8. Yeah. And something clicked, and Bo Nix just turned it on and made it happen, which tells me there's a little bit of Tom Brady in him. That little bit. There's somewhere in him that there's a switch that he can turn on, and take control of the game. And maybe now that he has done it and knows what it feels like, maybe that will translate into more Tom Brady like performances. What do you think about that?
I no, I agree. I mean, I think I wouldn't want him to turn into total Tom Brady, but
What way, dude? I would love to see him turn into Tom Brady.
uh, Tom Brady playing, yes, would be great. But
Tom Brady, what would not be great?
well, I mean, just all the other stuff off the field. He's a douche. Come
What?
on.
You mean like him marrying Giselle and all that?
No. No, I think that yes, I think that he has the qualities to be a really good quarterback. I
Yeah,
mean, he's young, he
yeah,
played a lot of games in college. I think he's a stud. He brought him back. I mean, it doesn't matter how well the Giants played or not, but they were up
yeah.
19 zip.
I just love the fact that it is within him to, I mean, to put a team on his
To be
shoulders.
able to do it.
2 passing touchdowns and 2 running touchdowns in the 4th quarter. First player ever to do it. It's within him. He has that ability.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And it's simply a matter of tapping into that and making it a reality, that's
I totally agree.
I just see that potential in him to be great, and
Yeah.
he just has to be more consistent, whatever it is, and part of that might be on the coaching staff, part of that may be within him, maybe it's just the coaching staff putting him in a position to win, or the players around him, doing it or whatever, but, I'm optimistic, so I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's gonna be a higher scoring game. I actually like the over in it. It's at 50.5. The Cowboys are gonna be hard to stop, and the Broncos, look, the Giants scored 32 on them. If the Giants can score 32 on them, yeah, I don't know. I think the Cowboys, I don't know. We'll see. I think the Cowboys are gonna be hard to stop, and I think the Broncos are better, and the Cowboys defense is terrible. So I like that game. I think the Broncos are gonna win in a high scoring game. But
All right.
the Broncos are 5-2. They could easily be 6-1 or even 7-0. And so, feeling good about the Broncos after a lot of down years ever since Peyton Manning retired. So looking forward to the Broncos. It looks like they're favored by 3.5. I wouldn't take the Broncos minus the points, but I do like the over. What do you think about betting the game?
So it's in Denver,
Correct.
correct?
Yes, correct.
I don't know. I think, dude, it's definitely gonna be high scoring. I don't think it's gonna be that close. I could be wrong, but I think Broncos are gonna. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
To
It's
Denver.
gonna be more. What's the line?
Three,
3?
3 or 3.5, and the over under is like 50.5.
You're gonna beat it by more than that.
That'd be great.
The
I'd
Broncos.
be
That's my take. Would I bet on it? Probably not.
Yeah, that Cowboys offense scares me. Javonte Williams is going to be all fired up in his return to Denver. After seeing
He
the
might blow him
dude,
up.
after seeing the Giants score 32 on him,
They're not yeah, I don't know. They can get after the quarterback. Vontae could definitely get some yards, but the deep passing, I
you
don't
got
know.
who could have
You got the best offense.
so if Sertan is on CD all day, that means that my boy Pickens is on Moss, and that's a
He'd
mismatch.
blow Moss up.
That's a mismatch. Moss, he's picked on every week, and the only white boy playing cornerback in the NFL, my boy Pickens is just going to eat him up. I'm afraid.
Did I call Pickens a clown at the
I
beginning of
believe
the
you
year?
call him a bum.
Okay, a bum.
A
All
bum,
right.
I believe, is the right terminology that you used. He's only
All
like,
right.
dude, he's like a top 10 receiver in the NFL.
Well, he is now. He didn't do shit at Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh sucked.
I'm hoping that I'd love to see Sertan on CD, kind of shut him down a little bit. And from a fantasy perspective, I think Pickens might do well, but obviously, my love of the Broncos supersedes fantasy. So I'm hoping the Broncos do well and they can contain that Cowboys offense. So yeah, the over 50.5 is one of my best bets of the week. We'll get to that later. All right,
All right.
let's
What do we?
let's move on here. Let's talk about the NFL in general. Let's see here. Let's restart that clock. So, for me, I think the most intriguing game of the week is Green Bay at Pittsburgh. You got Aaron Rodgers playing his former team. Not only that, but if you remember, there was a year there where the Packers needed help offensively. They could use some offensive linemen, some wide receivers. I mean, they needed help. And and who did they draft in the first round? Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And Rodgers was pissed. He was so pissed. And it just it became a thing where, they drafted his replacement instead of someone to help him. And I think that was the beginning of the end, honestly, with Rodgers and Green Bay. I think that sowed some divisions between them. And so now Rodgers gets to face his former team. Unfortunately, it's in Pittsburgh. I'd love to see it in Green Bay, but it's in Pittsburgh. And so I'm really, really intrigued by that. Any takes on that game, Ducky?
Is Rodgers a douche?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Just
He's a douche, but did you see last week when his offensive lineman tackled him and then Rodgers got all pissed off? Did you see that?
no.
Yeah. So so Rodgers, I think it's when he threw that 60-yard touchdown pass to Freiermuth to put them in the lead. And he's running off the field all psyched. His lineman, some big tackle came up and pushed him celebratory, right? But he basically tackled Rodgers. Rodgers
And he
got up.
mad.
Rodgers got up and he was so pissed. And yeah, he's definitely not afraid of dishing out some anger on his teammates.
Yeah, so he's a douche. Like I
Yeah,
said.
the whole thing. He's a Trumper, and but at the same
Is he?
time, yeah, he's a total, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's a douche.
yeah. But then at the same time, dude, he's also like an ayahuasca taker. So he's got to have some
So
kind
how
of
does
wisdom.
that work out? So that and Trumper doesn't work
I
together.
know, that's what's so intriguing,
We'll
right?
lay off the Trumper talk, but
Yeah,
just saying.
yeah. It's intriguing that someone like that would go to South America and do a whole, tribal, ayahuasca ceremony.
You think he brought his flag with him?
I don't know.
But
But
he travel with that thing?
he doesn't seem like he's enlightened,
No, he's definitely not enlightened.
I see no enlightenment with him. But what? He's playing pretty well. He had 4 touchdown passes last week.
Yeah.
He's playing pretty well. And this is likely this could be his last NFL season. It's kind of like when Joe Montana was with the Chiefs. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then there were like a couple great Broncos Chiefs games there when Montana was with the Chiefs, but everyone knew he was on his last legs and he was just trying to cement his legacy. That's basically what it is. So, okay, so I think the best games of the week are definitely Cowboys Broncos and
Okay.
Steelers Packers. I'm intrigued by the Giants and Eagles because the Giants. The Giants went into Philly. No, it was in Jersey. So the Giants beat the Eagles for the Eagles' first loss of the year, which kind of started them on a little slide. So now the Giants head into Philadelphia, and the Eagles are playing much better. Although AJ Brown is out, and so I'm curious and intrigued by that game. Any feelings on Eagles Giants?
I don't. The Giants, I could see the Giants beating them.
You think? I could definitely see them covering. I think the line is right around 7, and the Giants are playing much better. And the Eagles are still, I think they still have some problems. AJ Brown's not in. Jackson Dart's really coming into his own. And I could definitely, if I was going to bet this game, I'd take the Giants plus the points. What do you think?
What is it?
I think it's 7, right around 7.
I'd go Giants.
I would too.
I know it's in Philly, but
I would too. It's just that I think the Giants are much better, and I think the Philly is still getting the benefit of the doubt because they're Super Bowl champions, when in fact they are pretty low on a lot of metrics as far as offensive efficiency and things like that. Now AJ Brown's not in, and Saquon is not doing anything, and so I would not be surprised if the Giants either won the game or at least covered.
well, I don't see the Eagles, maybe they, turn it around, but I
Yeah,
don't see.
they're looking pretty, like a lot of teams after they win the Super Bowl are just not as good the next year. They just lose their hunger a little bit. They start feuding, that's just what it seems like. I think the Eagles are past their peak, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them, be like exit first round of the playoffs, that type of thing.
Well, do you have a game that you would have that you would like to bet on, or do we talk about that
Yeah, no,
later?
we got best bets coming up.
All right.
Let's just think of this if there's any other NFL stuff
They
coming
don't
up.
look that exciting. I mean, they'll
No,
all
the
be
Eagles
good,
are the
but
Eagles are pretty bland right now, so I
what
wouldn't be.
about the Patriots Browns?
Yeah, that's one thing I was gonna mention. The Patriots are on fire. Again, with the best bets theme, they've covered 4 in a row. They're one of my picks last week, and they crushed the Browns. Drake May is playing like a pro, like an all-pro.
Yeah, he's a stud.
That offense is doing great. And so I expect them to do pretty well against Cleveland, and they are really they're really the Patriots are good for the first time since Tom Brady left. So I expect
Yep.
them to do pretty well against the Browns. Who else we got? We got
What else? So Commanders Chiefs.
yeah, that's a good game, except that my boy Jaden Daniels is out again. I I'm afraid Jaden Daniels is going to be like RG3,
Yeah.
Robert Griffin.
Yeah.
He was always hurt, and he started off, and he was amazing for like his rookie year, and then I remember there was a game against Baltimore where one of their big defensive tackles, like they had this huge Samoan defensive tackle, Haloti Nada, and he like squashed uh he just squashed
He
RG3.
sucked the life out
He
of
just
him.
broke him in half. He just squashed him, and RG3 was never the same again. And I'm a little worried about that with Jaden Daniels like that. He just seems a little too fragile.
Is he done? You're saying he's
No,
done?
no, but he's already been hurt twice. He had a knee, now he's got a hamstring. He's got
He's done.
a thin frame, and he's a running quarterback. You got a bunch of fucking really huge dudes chasing you down and just squashing you. And I just worry that he's too fragile. Anyway, I don't know. I'm regretting. I thought I had 2 great
Yeah,
quarterback
you're
picks.
regretting you thought you had the top guy. And you
Well, I had both,
drafted.
and Lamar Jackson out again this week. Everyone thought they're like, okay, we'll just have him go to the bye week and then he'll be fine.
What do you do? That's
But dude,
right?
any other NFL stuff going on this week that you want to talk about?
No, I think we've gone over
Cool.
quite a bit.
We kind of buried the lead. Let's go on to really, I think, the story of the week, which is Chauncey Billups and the gambling scandal.
My God.
What the hell, dude? Chauncey, just a legend in Colorado sports. He high school basketball player, one of the he played in Denver like for Manuel or someone, and he one of the highest ranked recruits in CU basketball history. Stayed home, and then he was
I think
great.
he played at George Washington. I
George
could be wrong.
Washington, I think you're right. And he was great. And then he went to CU, and he got CU to the tournament. I think they got to the Sweet 16.
He played 2 years at sea.
Yeah, yeah, and he got to the Sweet 16, and he was great. And then he played for the Nuggets, and he's just
And now is he stealing from people?
I'm so curious what comes out of this, because from what I've heard, okay, so there were two FBI investigations.
Okay.
One was this illegal poker game. And the thing was that they were not. So apparently, Chauncey was involved in getting people to play in this poker game. And this poker game was put on by the mob. I mean, this is straight out of like Goodfellas. But this mob poker game was rigged. So have you read all this?
I haven't read a lot about it, but I did hear on the Dan Levitard show, he had a guy who was a top poker player, one of the top poker players in the world. And he was on a podcast 2 years ago, and he spoke about this poker game that he was involved with Chauncey Billups. And he said that one of his buddies was like, he asked him, was it legit? And he's like, oh, yeah, for sure. And then he had two other buddies that actually played in it. And they said they knew within 10 minutes that it was rigged.
Really?
They said, yeah, they were like, he said this. He goes, dude, they knew, no, without a doubt, it was rigged.
And so, who was this that said that?
This, I don't remember his name, but he was on Dan Le Batard's show. They played it, the clip of his podcast, and it was 2 years old.
That's so interesting.
So 2 years ago, he knew that it was rigged.
Okay, so there were. I read that they were the mob was hosting these games, and that first of all, the question is also in this age of legalized gambling,
why is he?
Why do you have to go to some illegal mob run poker game? Why don't you just go to a card room in Vegas if you want to play, right?
Well, let's get to the bottom. Like, the real shit is he's a fucking NBA coach. Why is he dealing with fucking cards?
Right. Yeah.
What?
And that's
what?
That's the obvious question. But I'm just I'm fascinated by this whole. I mean, this is straight out
the gambling.
This is straight out of like Goodfellas or like Sopranos or something. Like, with legalized gambling, I'm surprised there are still mob run poker games. Why don't you just go to a card room in Vegas? It's like, this is stupid. So the thing is that these mob run poker games, they had rigged shuffling machines.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. So if you go, if you go play blackjack or poker in Vegas, the cards go into a shuffler and it's all randomized and all that, supposedly. But so some of these games had these rigged shuffling machines, and then they also had like marked cards. So the cards were marked with some kind of ink or something you could only see with special contacts or glasses. So they would have obviously these inside players, who had these special contacts that they could only see, so that they were able to see what cards were what. And this is all this like, I mean, that's crazy. Special, these high contact lenses and marked cards and rigged shuffling machines. This is like out of a movie. It's insane.
Well, why? Like, I just don't understand though the fact that
why Chauncey would be involved. The only thing
guy's making millions of dollars being a coach.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, it's obviously not the money. Because you're right.
It's the rush.
He made millions of
robbing people.
Yeah, he made millions as a player. He made millions as a coach. It's obviously not the money. It's the competitiveness. It's like why Michael Jordan loves gambling too. He won't play golf without money on it. It's like, because these competitive guys, they need that rush. They need the competitiveness. They need something on the line, or why even do it? I know that's what it is. But how the mob got their hooks into Chauncey, I'm really curious. I think it's probably they had something on him, whether it was a gambling debt or some kind of information.
It's been going on. Maybe he's been dealing with those guys for years.
Maybe. You never know. I'm really curious what comes out of this, because I think he got caught red-handed and now he's screwed. So I'm really curious what's going to come out of this. Obviously, I bet, the mob knows where his family lives and all that, like what the fuck's going to happen to him? What, witness protection? He's a recognizable public figure. Really wild. And the thing is, so there's two indictments. One is for the rigged poker games, and the other one is for setting up NBA games. Yeah, and so the one with the rigged poker games, Chauncey was named as
one of the names,
right? But then the other investigation for the rigged basketball games did not name him, but they did name the Miami player, Rozier.
Yeah, Rozier.
Yeah, but then the indictment also lists unnamed people with some information about them. And one of the quote unquote unnamed players was an NBA player from this year to that year, and is a NBA coach from this year to that year, and is a resident of Portland, Oregon. And all those match up to Chauncey.
Yeah.
So they named Chauncey without actually naming Chauncey. So Chauncey's involved in both scandals. And supposedly one of the games that he threw for the mob, I'm assuming it's the mob, was he told the mob in advance that he was going to sit three of their starters. Because sometimes coaches
All
will,
their highest scoring
yeah, sometimes
players.
that happens because it's just strategic. Like, the guys need a rest, so they basically give all their starters a rest and then just
Basically, it's
chalk it
bullshit,
chalk it
but
up to a loss. Like the Lakers will sit, LeBron and Luca and all their starters for a game because it's like it's like the second game of a back-to-back road trip or something, right? So they'll just say, "Oh, we'll just chalk it up as a loss," and so, but he would tell, like in one case, I guess he told the mob that he was sitting his players, and then sure enough, they lost by 28 points. So
but Vegas knows all that shit, though. That's how it came out,
well, it's
right?
it's inside information, yeah.
But Vegas was like, "Dude, these big bets coming in on these bullshit games
Yeah,
and
yeah,
players."
yeah, if you remember, there was a huge betting scandal with college back in, like, the '80s. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, was it Tulane or it
Yeah,
was
something like that. I think it was Tulane. And sure enough, there would be, yeah, and this involved college players intentionally throwing games.
Yeah.
So they were paid to intentionally miss shots and things like that, and it's an ongoing problem, but the crazy ironic part is that the NBA, the NFL, they're pushing gambling as a source of revenue. So they're saying gambling is great.
Do it, but don't.
Yeah, do it, but don't. It's
Don't get caught doing it.
it's like how the NFL wants its players to be, like, really violent on the field, but really, like, nice off the field, So these guys are all jacked up on.
Which doesn't work.
No. So you get all these, like, badass, muscle-bound dudes get paid to, be violent with other players.
Shannon
Yeah, right. It
Whoa.
happens all the time, right? Yeah, yeah.
Mixon?
Yeah, Mixon, Joe
Yeah, the
Mixon.
guy who punched a chick
Yeah,
in
he
college.
punched a girl in an elevator and
Yeah,
all
why
that.
wouldn't he beat up a chick?
Yeah. Then he still gets to play and all that. But that's the thing, it's kind of these mixed messages like, "Oh, you should be,"
You get that mixed messages?
Yeah.
Mixon? Go Mixon? Just saying.
But then with gambling, they're saying, they're promoting it and then they're saying, "Oh, no, it's bad,"
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, but, athletes are competitive, and gambling is a form of competitiveness, It's just, Pete Rose, this has happened many times in the past, whether it's been uncovered or not. It'll
Well,
keep.
Pete Rose is not. I mean, yes, I get it. It's all gambling. I get it.
Yeah, but, sports in general is gambling, There's a reason why betting on sports is so popular.
But one thing about Pete Rose, he wasn't betting. He was always betting to win, and he wasn't betting on his team with that kind of
Yeah.
shit. He wasn't moving players. He
I
wasn't
I understand that. He wasn't
what?
throwing games.
The fucking hit king?
Yeah, I understand that.
I know what you're saying.
But it's just like athletes are competitive and gambling is an extension
It'll
of
never
that.
change.
And it's hypocritical to promote it with the public, but then prosecute it with the players.
What about the little guy, the NBA, the commissioner? That
Yeah.
guy hadn't said shit.
Yeah. I heard about it. That was on PTI. They're talking about that.
Exactly.
But
They were like, "What's he
said
doing?"
he was hiding under his desk,
Yeah.
which is
Right?
funny. Yeah, totally. And but yeah, this sports scandals are going all the way to the Black Sox. The White
Yeah.
Sox, shoeless Joe Jackson, and all that, and
Mhm.
the whole hypocrisy and contradiction between the public betting on sports and then athletes not is it'll continue to raise its head. But I'm curious to see where all this goes. So poor Chauncey though, because I mean I love the dude. He's so highly respected, and
Don't be a fucking clown.
he's screwed. Yeah, he's screwed.
Dude, he's done.
Yeah,
He's gonna be the Denver guy who was a clown.
yeah. I mean, you just hear there's so many cases of these high profile athletes who have everything, but everything's not enough, and then they got to go, deal drugs or
Was his brother involved too?
I don't know. Well, he's like I say,
He was a coach.
I didn't know Chauncey has a brother? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yes, he played at DU. He was a coach at DU.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
younger brother.
Yeah, so that's a story we'll obviously be following, and then that segues into the next topic, which is Molly Bloom and Jeremy Bloom, which is
All
a
right.
fascinating
So
segue.
before we start, I got a little fired up because you said, "Do you know who Jeremy Bloom is?" That was a little heavy, Bill.
You said no.
Bill,
You said no.
dude, I saw every game that guy played at CU. Every game.
Do I need to look up the text message? And you're like, who's that?
I said that was my joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
So
some of those nuances in communication don't really come out in text
yeah.
messages.
So when he ran that first touchback, that's
yeah.
the game.
He was incredible, you know, because he had those mogul skier moves, those hips, those loose hips. You know, he was like 5'8", 160, little guy.
Dude, he was a stud.
Oh, he was amazing. He was so amazing on many levels. You know, not only was this little white boy turn out to be a great college player. He gets drafted by the Eagles. Plays for the Eagles for like 4 years, and a lot like. Have you ever seen the movie Invincible?
No.
Okay, you're not much of a movie guy, Ducky. I'm gonna have to get you to watch more movies.
No.
Okay,
but I do Jeremy Bloom.
Okay, on a quick side note, okay, you remember Dick Vermeil?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the Eagles back in like the 70s.
He cried. He
yeah,
likes
yeah,
to cry.
yeah. And so back in the 70s, the Eagles were terrible, and they fired their coach. They needed a new coach. Dick Vermeil was coaching UCLA and doing great. And so the Eagles hired Dick Vermeil, who at first looked like a terrible fit. Because Dick Vermeil was like this touchy-feely West Coast surfer dude, right? And Philly was just hard and rough, and people were pissed, and, there's just a lot of anger and animosity, and who's this fucking surfer dude from California coming to coach our Eagles? And so he shows up, and the Eagles were terrible. They had no talent. So one of the things that Dick Vermeil did was he held open tryouts for the Eagles. Literally anyone off the street. And so they got all these bums showing up, right? All these armchair quarterbacks, who couldn't even fucking, run 40 yards. And, it's just all these bums. But one of the guys who showed up was this guy who never played college ball, but he was a legend in these street Philadelphia. He was a legendary street football player who never went to college. And his name was Vince. And that's what the title of the movie, Invincible. And he tried out for the team, and he actually made the team, and he was like a special teams player, but he was like famous for just going just balls out, and just he had this incredible fire and tenacity, and he ended up playing for the Eagles for 4 years too. Just this Italian dude off the street, the Rocky Balboa of football, literally. And you got to look up the story. You got to watch the movie. It's an incredible movie. Mark Wahlberg plays him, and
Marky
Mark plays Vince. I'm spacing his last name, but the movie's called Invincible, and it's very similar to the Jeremy Bloom story, even though Jeremy Bloom obviously played college ball, and so Jeremy goes on to play for the Eagles, but then he became also he was really an important figure in a couple of other things too. The first was the whole NIL movement, because
I remember
he was getting paid by ski equipment manufacturers. He was sponsored by ski equipment manufacturers because he was also an Olympic skier. But then the NCAA ruled him ineligible to play for the Buffs because he was getting skiing sponsorships, and he sued them because of that. And I don't think he won, but that started the movement of players standing up for their rights as far as getting paid for their efforts, right? Not just in, bullshit, scholarships, And so Jeremy was super important there. And then the next thing he was really important about was that he recommended to the CU athletic director that he consider Deion Sanders for head coach. Mike Bone. He went to Mike Bone and said, you should hire Deion Sanders. And so Jeremy Bloom continues to be incredibly influential in CU athletics.
What happened to Mike Bone? What the
Isn't he still there? Isn't that who's the cure?
No.
Okay, maybe it's not Mike Bone. Whoever the current
Yeah,
AD
Mike
is.
Bone's toast.
Okay, so whoever the current AD.
Oh my god,
Man, the reason I bring up the Blooms is because of the poker game, right?
yes,
And so
go.
Jeremy and Molly Bloom were one of the most interesting brother and sister tandems I've ever heard of. Because Jeremy obviously was a very interesting story, but then Molly also, so they grew up in Loveland, and they were both skiers. And they had a father who was very driven as far as like he coached them like professionals when they were kids, and and really he created some really driven kids. And so Molly Bloom didn't become she was an Olympic class mogul skier as well, just like Jeremy. But she had an injury that ended her skiing career. So she was ultra competitive. So where did she turn? To gambling, like a lot of athletes do, right? She ended up using her charm and her wits to start this poker ring. And so unlike Chauncey and the mob, she wasn't rigging it, she was just putting it together, right? And so she was hosting these really high-end poker
it's
games.
legit poker.
Yeah, it was legit poker. She wasn't doing anything illegal besides facilitating gambling, which was stupid, right? Because, it's a victimless crime. I mean, no one's, as long as everything is above board. But she had an incredibly interesting story. She ended up getting caught, and she was arrested. She pled guilty, but didn't go to jail over it. But it was such an interesting story that Aaron Sorkin heard about it and wrote the screenplay to Molly's Game, and Jessica Chastain played Molly Bloom in the movie Molly's Game, and that's another movie you got to see. So I'm gonna.
I don't know the Chastain chick.
Jessica Chastain, dude.
I don't know.
I gotta up your game in the movie area. So I'm giving you homework. We're gonna start a list of movies you have to watch.
Okay.
So you and Chatty,
I'll watch.
you and Chatty need to sit down on weekend nights and watch some movies. Molly's Game's top of the list. Invincible. That's just two of them. I'm starting a list. We're gonna have a weekly segment about movies that Ducky and Chatty need to watch together. Because Louise and I really like movies. I love watching movies, and so Molly's Game's an incredibly interesting story, and that's what made me think. I mean, the whole thing with Chauncey made me think of Molly's Game. So anyway, let's move on to some baseball. So you know how we're talking about the Rockies and the Red Sox and about momentum, right? How the Rockies were on fire, and then they had to wait a week, and then they lost their fire, right? Whereas the Red Sox played like a 7-game World Series. They had all the momentum. They played like 2 days after the last game. So I was listening to the guys on PTI, and they brought up that exact point. And apparently there have been something like 10 instances in World Series history where one team swept the championship series and the other team went 7 games. And all 10 times, the team that had to go 7 games won the World Series. And the team that swept the championship series lost, right?
So that's unfair, by the way.
Unfair?
Well, there's got to be some sort of figuring something out. I don't know. Maybe stagger the start of the something. Yeah.
It's just
saying.
Well,
it's baseball bullshit is what it is.
But the thing is like, both series start at the same time. One goes 7 games, one goes 4 games.
Do they?
Well, what are you going to do?
They do not.
You can't, they more or less start at the same time. But you can't predict who's going to go 7 games, who's going to go 4 games. The schedules have to be made in advance. Plans have to be made, right? You can't how are you going to do that? How are you going to get the series to end at the same time when you don't know the results of the games?
All I know is when I walked into Game 1 of the Rockies Red Sox and Pedroia hit the first ball out of the park in the first inning,
you could feel
I knew the series was over.
Yeah, I remember that same thing.
Done.
The Rockies won 24 out of 25 down the stretch, and they were so hot. They smoked the Phillies. They beat the Diamondbacks.
They hammered everybody.
They were on fire. They could not lose.
It was a 10-day layoff.
Oh God, it was something like you could just feel their joints stiffening up with that long break,
Yeah, it was over. I
Man,
should have sold the tickets before I walked in.
it's so sad. Fucking Red Sox, it's just so sad. But anyway, so sure enough, so Dodgers swept, Blue Jays
Who
went
won
7.
tonight?
I have to look that up.
I got it right here.
I
Let's
think
see.
I think the Blue Jays were leading.
It was the when I last time I saw the
No,
Dodgers
the
won.
Dodgers were leading 5-1.
So Dodgers won 5-1.
Was
It's
that the
over.
final? Okay.
Yep,
So, anyway, did you watch the first game?
I did.
Yeah,
That
so,
was they got hammered.
Blue Jays 11-4,
Mhm.
and that was, first pinch hit grand slam in World Series history was one of the highlights of it, and
Yeah, Bam Bam.
yeah, yep, and so, but then I was fascinated by that statistic about teams going 7 versus teams that aren't.
Dude,
Anyway, that 11-4 game, Ohtani hit a home run, so the Ohtani watch is on. And then, let me look up tonight. I'm not sure what happened tonight. Oh, yeah. So one of the interesting things about the Blue Jays is that they tried to sign Ohtani, and he obviously turned him down for the Dodgers. And last night during the game, the Toronto's fans were chanting, "Don't need you anyway," and so they were kind of needling
why
him.
would Ohtani not want to go to LA with all
Yeah,
the
my God.
Japanese that
Exactly. It's the Pacific
but
Rim. It's close to
yeah,
Japan. He was already in Southern Cal with Anaheim. The Dodgers gave him like $1 billion.
why would he leave?
Why would he leave? Yeah, exactly. So I guess it's 1-1. Let's see here. What other interesting? Yeah, so we'll see. So it's 1-1. Game 3's in LA on Monday night. It's 3-2. So we got three. You got 3 in LA. So LA could close it out if they sweep, but I imagine the Jays will take at least one of them so that it will end up being in Toronto. By the way, it's Toronto's first World Series since 1993. Do you know what happened with Toronto in
Yeah,
1993?
Joe Carter, homer, and that was his 6th
Yep,
game.
yep, yep.
That was
Do you remember who the closer was that he hit the home run off
Mitch
of?
Williams.
Very good, Ducky. Mitch Williams. And he was, man, he was like all fiery and shit. And
He got crushed.
he got crushed.
So the anniversary was 2 days ago?
Yeah, it was on the
The
23rd.
23rd of
October 23rd,
October.
93. And, yeah, and for people who don't know the story, I was watching that game in a bar in Prague next to your buddy Bob, right?
Yes.
Next to your buddy
Bob,
Bob,
doc
but we didn't know each other at the time. And, because of the time difference, it was like 4 in the morning. And everyone in the bar is just wasted. All these Americans, right, staying up till 4 in the morning to watch this game. And it was like, I'll never forget it, because it was just such an iconic moment. Just to know, it's just so. I remember when Bob and I were talking at that party, and like how we ever figured that shit out is unbelievable, right? Kind of how do you even go down that road to someone you don't know?
that was awesome.
Like, you know, you small talk at a party, but like, how do you get to the level of where you were in a certain time and place like that? And we just kept on narrowing it down. Like, oh, I lived in Prague. Oh, I lived in Prague. Oh, I was there in 93. Oh, I was there in 93. I remember this sports bar I used to hang out at. I used to hang out at that sports bar. Yeah, I remember watching the Blue Jays fucking at 4 in the morning when the World Series. Like, I was there, dude. And he was probably sitting right next to me the whole time. You're like that karmic link between us, dude. It's so funny.
So Bob was teaching English in Slovakia.
Yeah.
Is how he got over there.
So why if he was in Slovakia, why was he in Prague?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
If he was coming or going.
He was probably there for the weekend or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
something crazy.
Yeah. That's just because it's such a vivid memory.
Well, shit.
And halfway around the world, and to find someone who's there with you was just an incredible moment.
Right?
Yeah.
The bar couldn't have been that big.
No, it was a small bar, it's just crazy. And then all the on a weirdly related note too, Louise has a friend who was in Prague that the year, I think she was there the year after me. So I know someone else who was there too that we were able to trade notes on and stuff. It's just kind of a funny thing, but yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So it's just kind of interesting that October 23rd, the one of the most dramatic and historic moments in baseball history, essentially. Blue Jays were trailing the Phillies 6-5 in the bottom of the ninth with Mitch Williams, and Mitch Williams was like unhittable. Joe Carter, 3-run home run, giving them the 8-6 win. It was back to back. Toronto went back to back because they won it in '92 as well. And Carter became just the second home run in Major League history to end a World Series. So
I couldn't even tell you where I was when that happened.
yeah, well, it, it, it's not like where were you when 9/11 happened or something like that, right? It was a
I
big
do remember
it was a
that,
big
but
moment, but it was just it was for me because I was overseas and at the
yeah, of
time,
course.
like I told you, like this is before the internet and cell phones and all that. And I used to that's when CU was really good. And my mom used to send me sports sections in the mail. So I would read about CU football like 4 weeks after it happened. Because I'd get a care package of sports sections out of the Denver Post. And because we had like Fox TV, so we had like the World Series and a few
Do you
things like
still
that.
have them? The newspapers that were
No,
sent to you?
no. But that's what it took to follow CU football, So, but I was able to follow the World Series because it was on Fox and all that, and we watched them live. And so, anyway, that was the second walk-off home run to end the World Series in history. The first being Bill Mazeroski's in 1960s, which is a really famous moment
Sure.
in history. So let's move on to birthdays. Do you have any birthdays or anything for me this week, Ducky?
I don't have any birthdays. I've got shit. What do we got here? Birthdays. No, I don't have any birthdays.
Okay, I got a birthday for you.
Go.
Happy birthday, Dan Issel. You remember Dan Issel?
Yeah,
Issel the
of course.
Missile.
He's
He was the first athlete I ever stood next to that I knew who he was. And I was at a Colorado Rockies hockey game when the Rockies were a hockey team and not a baseball team, right?
Yeah.
And I was at the Rockies game and I was standing in line for like a soda or something. And Dan Issel walked up behind me, standing in line. And I was probably, 12 years old or something. And Dan Issel is, 6'11". And I just remember looking up at him, thinking, first of all, he's so fucking huge, but also too, it's like, oh my God, it's like an athlete in the flesh, right? It's the first athlete I'd ever seen like in the flesh. And he was such a cool dude. And he's just an iconic figure with the Nuggets. He was he was with the Kentucky Colonels. This is back with the ABA. The Nuggets were in the ABA and all that. He was the ABA Rookie of the Year in '71. He played 9 seasons with the Nuggets, having 20 points, 8 rebounds, over 700 games. He's 6-time ABA NBA All-Star. Just an amazing. And then later he was the head coach for the Nuggets. Remember that?
He was the Kentucky guy, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he go to Kentucky?
Yeah, he went to Kentucky and he also played with the Kentucky Colonels before. So he was the ABA's Rookie of the Year with the Kentucky Colonels and then moved on to the Nuggets. He played 9 years with the Nuggets. And his rookie year with Kentucky in the ABA, he led the league in scoring his rookie year, 29.9 points a game as a rookie. And later on, went on to become the head coach for the Nuggets. He was the head coach of the Nuggets when they beat Seattle. Remember that with Dikembe Mutombo? Yeah.
Of course. He had a little issue at the end of his career. Dan Issel.
Issel, what happened at the end of his career?
He had a little bit of an issue. I think he might have got fired. Maybe he had a little issue with the fan at the end of one of the games.
I don't know. That's interesting. I'd have to look that
might have been
up.
a part of his departure.
Yeah. Okay. I don't remember that. But yeah, I remember he was called. His nickname was the Horse. We used to call him also Issel the Missile, but he was the Horse. because he was just like steady, solid all the way around. Career high 47 points in a game. He was just
He was good
he was
for
like
sure.
Mr. Nugget, right? Back in the day, before Alex English, kind of after David Thompson, he was just rock solid. But I will always remember him for being the first athlete I saw in person when I was a little kid. He was awesome. But yeah, today's his birthday, October 20th.
You know what? I gotta throw one more in there.
What's that?
86, game
Oh,
6.
I know what you're trying to say. Bill Buckner, right? Yeah.
Game
Bill Buckner. I remember where I was for that one as well. I watched that. It was my
10th inning.
Yep. It was my freshman year at CU, and I was in the dorms, and there was, like like common like areas where there are like TV setups, so you could go watch TV,
Mhm.
right? And I was watching it, and then there were all these kids away from home, and a lot of them were from the East Coast, whether Red Sox or Mets fans, right? Because that was Red Sox Mets, right? Yep. And so a lot of kids from the East Coast, a lot of Red Sox and Mets fans there. And I remember very specifically watching that ball roll through his legs,
I saw it. Yeah.
and yeah, so I'll remember that one as well. Yeah,
So
I did see that one in my research, and I thought about that one, but obviously the 93 Blue Jays World Series has a little bit more significance
sure.
with Bob and all that. But yeah, Billy Buckner. That was oh man, such an iconic moment.
I've got do I go one more?
Yeah, what do you got?
I'm gonna go we're seeing where, Colorado, Jason Elam, 1998, kicked a 63-yard field goal to tie Tom Dempsey.
Mhm.
That was the longest ever at that point.
Yeah. The thing with
But we've got a negative to that
yeah.
because he's been noted to be a non-tipper.
Non-tipper
Wendy gave me some info. My wife, Wendy, gave
about
me some
Jason Elam?
info. Jason Elam, he was golfing up at Keystone, and she was the whole Bronco team was up there, and she was the cart girl.
Yeah.
Some people like to call it other things, but she, yeah, non-tipper guy, and he was an asshole.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jason Elam.
you just never know. Louise has met a ton of celebrities over the years, and I've met quite a few. I worked for a company that we did a lot of celebrity homes.
Mhm.
We did Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis's homes, so I got to know them personally, and it's really interesting. Louise has met a lot more people than I have, but it's interesting how you can't really tell people are going to be nice or assholes by their on-screen personalities, and you just yeah, I'm not surprised. Not
Did you have any issues with
Ashton and Mila. No, they were super cool. Because
Yeah, yeah.
because Ashton's from Iowa, and he's totally like salt of the earth. Like a mustache. And he just wore like jeans with holes in them, and he's just this really cool dude. Dropping f bombs every other word in meetings. And literally, the place that we built for him, I was a project manager. It made the cover of Architectural Digest. So it's really like
Wow.
what's really one of my professional highlights. I have that magazine on our coffee table because I spent like a year on their house, and man, and it turned out amazing. But it basically looks like a barn because it's all old reclaimed lumber, even though it's like a $25 million home. And he said, "Yeah, I just wanted to bring Iowa to Beverly Hills." He's like a Beverly Hillbilly, literally. And Mila's super nice. She was a waitress in Hollywood, so they're not like these, not like these rich kids, sons of daughters of actresses. They were both legitimately poor kids who made it big. And then Ashton supposedly got in on Bitcoin early and made like $1 billion. That's what that's what the general contractor, the architect of that job told me, is that yeah, Ashton made like $1 billion in Bitcoin. That's why you don't see Ashton acting anymore, or Mila either. Like they don't
Why
need to.
would they?
Yeah, Ashton made $1 billion. Now they live the rich life, and now they do like philanthropy and stuff. But yeah, but a lot of people are super nice. We worked with Harrison Ford on his place, and Harrison Ford was a carpenter on the set of a movie when he was discovered. And so, and then when we did his house, he'd throw on the tool bags and work alongside our carpenters. Really nice guy.
Really?
Yeah. But then we also did like Jamie Foxx's, not Jamie Foxx, Will Smith. Will Smith. Remember when Will Smith punched Chris Rock at the Oscars? Yeah, when that happened, I remember watching it live with friends, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he did that." And I was like, "I totally believe he did that. That guy's an asshole."
Really?
Yeah, he was a total jerk. We did his house, total asshole, and I knew it. This is so funny, but you can't really tell by people on screen or not. You know, like Seth Rogen, you'd think he'd be super cool dude. No, total asshole. And, you know, and other people you'd think maybe would be assholes. Like, yeah, they're totally nice. So you just never know. Yeah, pretty.
That's too bad.
Yeah, what's too bad?
That there's assholes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So let's see. So what else do I have for you? I think let's do best bets. Best
What
bets.
do we got?
Best bets.
So wait, so let's talk about this weekend. So tomorrow is National Tight End Day.
Yes. George
So
Kittle started that.
last year there were 16 tight ends that scored touchdowns.
I remember that. I remember.
So I say we do a Stylin 6-pack, 6 bets. It's all tight ends. I'm saying we go touchdowns. Like, why not?
Six
Right?
six
Are you
touch
up for
six
it?
tight sure. So pick 6 tight ends to score a touchdown?
Yeah.
Sure. We can do that. I'd have to think about it though, as far as which tight ends I choose, because I haven't done any research.
All right. You got to do your research. How about this? We research it. Next time we talk about how it went.
Yeah. So next week's episode, we will detail how our Stylin 6-pack went.
Because, dude, come on. If we can't do 6 that are scored,
well, Kittle,
we got issues.
I think Kittle's playing, so it's got to be one of them, right?
Really? I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll have to do my research on that one. I would take Ferguson with the Cowboys for sure.
I'll just throw a few out there. I would go Ferguson, Kelsey.
How about
Gadsden?
Yeah. Well, no, he already played, and he did score a touchdown, didn't he? I don't know if he did or not. They played Thursday. The Chargers played Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ferguson for the Cowboys scores one.
Let's get back to that. We'll
get back to that after a little research.
Yeah.
Okay, here are my bets I really like.
Go.
And I don't know how much this line has moved. So Lamar Jackson is out, right?
Yep.
And even when Lamar was in, I liked this bet. The Bears plus 6.5 at the Ravens. It's not going to be 6.5 anymore without Lamar in there. But I like the Bears. You know, the Bears have won 3
Let's see what it is.
The Bears have won 3 or 4 in a row. You know, their offense is clicking. They're the only team in the league who scored 21 points in every game this year. So
who's that?
The Bears. The Bears are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games. They're the only team to score 21 or more points in each game. They've scored 25 plus in 4 straight games. They've been doing great. And so I really like the Bears plus 6.5 before Lamar was ruled out. And so what's it now? Did you check it?
It is 2.5.
Yeah, so you went down.
Ravens minus 2.5.
I would take the Bears plus 2.5. I was going to take them plus 6.5. I'd still take them plus 2.5. I mean, now they're going to have Cooper Rush playing quarterback
or Huntley.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I would still take the Bears plus the points. The Bears are playing great, and the Ravens. I mean, they're coming off a bye week, but man, without Lamar in there, I don't know.
Who else you got? What's your?
I like the Patriots again. You know, they came up big last week. The Patriots have covered in 4 straight games. They are top 5 defense and offense.
Minus 7?
They're just on fire.
Patriots?
Yeah, I would take the Patriots minus 7. The thing with the Browns, they're not going to score any points. They got no offense. And so all the Patriots have to do is score 20 points to cover that spread because the Browns aren't scoring any points.
All right.
So I like the Patriots. I like the over in the Cowboys-Broncos game.
I'll go Patriots. Over in Broncos. All right.
Just, Cowboys are scoring 30 points a game. I think the Broncos offense may have woken up with that fourth quarter against the Giants. And I just think 51 points, that just is not that many points. I mean, Broncos Giants scored 65. I think
That's
Broncos Cowboys
crazy.
could score 51. And then the last one I really, really like, I think this is my bet of the week, is 49ers Texans under.
That's your lock of the week?
That's my bet of the week, is 49ers Texans under.
Is that a lock?
Yeah.
All right.
Lock it up. I'm gonna have some kind of little sound effect, an icon. I'm gonna have like a lock closing, like lock that shit up. This is why, because okay, the Texans, Nico Collins is out.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk is out. They have a couple like crappy rookie receivers.
Their offense sucks.
Their offense sucks. And you know what? Their defense is one of the best defenses in the league. But the Houston defense is great. Like they're like the top ranked pass defense in the league and their top 5 run defense. And it's at Houston. The Niners, you know, they don't have Ricky Pearsall. You know, they're getting Kittle back, but Brock Purdy's still out. You know, you look at last week, the Niners game, they beat the Atlanta 20-10, right?
Who's gonna win?
I don't know who's gonna win, but I don't think there's any way they're getting up to what's the over under 41.
The Niners are gonna beat them.
If they beat them, it's going to be 20-10 again, like they beat Atlanta 20-10. Seriously, that's a 20-10 game just waiting to happen.
So you're just going straight under.
Straight under. Straight under. That's my lock of the week. Under
41.5.
Yeah. Oh my God. Give me the under all fucking day on that. Who's scoring? The Texans? Texans aren't scoring, and the great defense, shitty offense, and the Niners are not showing that much signs of life. I just, you know, like I say, I think it's a 20-10 game.
All right.
So those are the 4 games I really like. And I was also thinking too, I like the Steelers at home against the Packers because Aaron Rodgers revenge game. I like that one too. But those are the 4 that came up.
Yeah.
I really like the Bears before the line went down and before Lamar was ruled out. Bears plus 6.5 I thought was great. But I'll still take the Bears plus 2.5. Patriots -7. Cowboys Broncos over 51. 49ers Texans under. What about you, Ducky? What are your bets? Those are my 4.
I don't have anything.
No? Come on, Ducky. You got nothing?
Let's see.
Some props, maybe? That's the thing. I didn't do my research on the props. Oh, no. Hold on. I have 2 props to throw in there for you.
Okay, go.
The Matthew Berry guys. I really like these 2. I like Jonathan Taylor to be under 21 rushing attempts. You know why? Because they're playing Tennessee. Indianapolis, Indy's a 14.5 point favorite.
Dude, I forgot my notes. I had that. So it's Taylor, it's 20.5 under.
Under 20.5 rushing attempts.
And what was the next one?
Well, that's why, because they're not going to need to run Taylor a bunch of times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're just going to run away with it. And you know, they've got the best record in the league. They don't need to run Taylor into the ground beating a shitty team, right? And the other one was Kayshon Boutte, which is the source of many, you know, giving me some Boutte and all that, you know. Anyway, he over receiving yards. So,
29.5?
Yeah. Projections have him supposedly at 47 receiving yards. The Matthew Berry team called it the biggest discrepancy of the week in props.
Why didn't Matthew have a...
Yeah, he didn't have a pick. Did you notice that?
I thought that was... He didn't mention it.
Nope. They only had 2. Matthew Berry did not chime in on a pick. But
I had those 2 written down, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. So I've got 6 bets for the week. 2 props, 2 over-unders, and 2 spreads.
So, and then we'll get together tomorrow on a
6-pack.
Tight end.
Yeah. I'll do a little research. We get together in the morning and put that bet in. But
a little Stylin 6-pack.
Yeah, Stylin 6-pack. Sure. Tight end weekend.
Dude, that's
big. That's going to be so hard to hit, dude. It's going to.
No, it's not. If there were 16 last year, why can't there be 16 this year?
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we'll pick the 6th likeliest tight end candidates to score a touchdown.
Yeah. I got a few, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Ingram for sure.
Ingram
Yeah.
has even had
Against Dallas, dude. Dallas ain't doing shit.
Ingram hasn't even had a touchdown all year.
Exactly.
Nah.
Bill.
No, that makes no
Bill.
sense, dude. That makes
It makes sense to me.
Okay. I'll tell you
What are they gonna do against tight ends?
I'll pick 3, you pick 3, and then
All right.
we'll
All right.
throw $10 on it, and we'll get like 200.
And then we'll bet on our 3 to your 3.
Okay.
I don't
We'll
know.
probably get like 100
'Cause you
100 to
seem to
1.
not be into my 3.
We'll get 100 to 1 on $10 and win $1,000. How does that sound? That'd be awesome.
All right.
That'd be
All
awesome.
right. So let's think about that.
That would be great. Okay, yeah. So we'll hook up in the morning, and we got a big game NFL. I saw you change your team name again.
I had to. I'm not doing so well.
What is it now? Whatever.
Yeah, it might be.
Is that your team name? Whatever. Dude,
I'm running out of stuff.
Oh man, you should be happy our team doesn't have one of those. It's not a league where you get punished for last place.
I'm not going to be last.
Oh, no.
I guarantee you that your guy, I'm going to pummel that
If
dude.
we were in a league where we're all like local, like a bunch of friends, I'd institute a rule where like last place player has to wear a sign around his neck and stand in the intersection saying, "I suck at fantasy football."
Yeah. So what about your guy, Philly guy? I'm going to blow his ass up. Caesar?
Estimated profits? Oh, Eagles of Destruction?
Yeah. Fuck that dude. I'm going to crush his ass.
Yeah, good. I think he's like in 11th and you're in 12th, so it's the battle for last place.
Dude, even your other guy, your East Coast guy, I'm going to blow his ass up too.
Estimated profits?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're doing pretty good. Me and Louise are in first, and
oh, that's great. I don't remember asking you how you were doing.
yeah, I'm 6-1 in Jefferson Fantasy. I took a tough loss in Bighorn, but 4-3, but still in the playoffs in Bighorn.
Dude, we got so much time going.
Yeah.
You could be last.
Oh, dude, I went from 1st to 6th with 1 game in Bighorn, but whatever. I have the 2nd most points in that league, and so I'm in 6th, but I have the tiebreaker over everyone because I have the 2nd most points. So it's
dude, I'm gonna be out of 4 leagues. I'm gonna be at least winning 2 of them. Yeah.
Dude, you still got time. All you have to do is get in the playoffs, and then anything can happen. So you just got to have your eyes on that 6th spot, and yeah,
I got my eyes on that number 1 spot. That's what I got. Fuck that 6th spot.
Well, there's the mathematical probability of that, Ducky, is not good.
All right.
Not good.
Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay. So yeah, let's hook up in the morning. We got some NFL action, and I'll get this thing edited and published. How does that sound?
Dude, that'd be awesome. That was fun.
Yeah, totally. Okay, then gonna be around in the morning.
Yeah, of course.
You going for
Buffs?
You going for a ride? Buffs. I'm trying to pretend like that didn't just happen.
Dude, you got it.
I turned it off. 40-0.
I can't
It
even.
wasn't only it was 40-0. It was a fucking shit show. Like they didn't even look like they practiced all week. Like it was a bunch of walk-ons who hadn't practiced.
Dude.
It's just depressing.
Right.
At least, yeah, it's just depressing.
So let's just hook up tomorrow. We'll chat it up.
Cool, man. Okay, great episode.
Awesome. Dude, that was good. That was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I'm enjoying this a lot. Yeah, we'll get this edited up and get it published, and then we'll touch base in the morning and play some bets.
Sweet. We'll talk.
All right, man.
See you, brother. Have a good night.
Peace out, man. You too.